Okay. Which one of y'all want to read tonight?
I was reading. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm ready.
Okay. Yahweh, won't you read for me tonight?
Yep.
All right. All right. So we're going to start off with Colossians 3:17, and like I said, this study is called the Complaints of Israel. Does it help? Okay. So get Colossians 3:17 for me out.
Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Mashiach Yahushua, giving thanks to our power and the Most High by Him.
Right. So everything we do is going to be in the name of Hamashiach Yahushua. Because Hamashiach has power. Hamashiach Yahushua. Everything we do is in word and deed through Him. All right. So, like I said, this is going to be about the complaining Israelites. There seems to be a problem with us always complaining. This topic basically, when you look at Israel, which is the Negroes and the Latins and the American Indians, we're a nation who've always complained. You know, our nation's always complains, especially in captivity and coming out of captivity. We always complain. Okay, well, there's two types of complaining. There's the righteous complaining, and then there's a negative complaining. So we're gonna look at both issues and see which ones that we do. Do we do the righteous complaining or the negative complaining? Because nobody never really explained to us what's a righteous complaint. You know, so we're gonna go there. So we're gonna talk about them. Let's first look at the forms of negative complaining in the Bible. Okay, and we're gonna compare that with today. Is most of the time we're complaining because we think that we're treated unfair, and it's true, we are treated unfair. And there's a lot of empathy coming from the other nations because they try not to put themselves in our place. So when we complain, they say, oh, you need to just get over it, because it looks as a complaint. You know, they're not born into the situation. All right. Even Morgan Freeman jumped on the bandwagon and says black people complain too much. Okay, and the reason being is because we don't know how to complain. We complain about the wrong things. Okay, so give me Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 29.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 29.
Put some fire in there, Ak, when you read.
Oh, my bad. I got it on speakerphone.
Okay. You know, when you read that right, man, the spirit come out. You know. Go ahead.
And thou shalt, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways.
Right.
And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. And no man shall save thee.
And that's what we complain about today, our people. You know. That really, we complain about everything, and we blurt out complaints before we even give thought to it. You know, is it a complaint for the sake of complaining, or are you really unhappy with your situation? That's pretty much how it is. Is there a benefit to expressing a view of how you complaining? If you're looking for insight from a person, you're speaking within by means of going for it. Let me explain what I'm saying. If you're mentioning, like, for example, if you want to spark a debate or a conversation, initiate a conversation, you want to initiate it based on the pros and cons. Generally speaking, we always start with the cons. We never start with the pros. You know, we got to be more aware of what we're talking about, because, like I said, there's a righteous complaining and then there's a negative complaining. All right. So the Most High told us if we didn't keep the law, statutes, and commandments, that we would be complaining. He said we would grope at noonday. Okay, that's what we're doing. That's a form of groping when we complain. Give me 67, Ak.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 67. In the morning thou shalt say, was the power, it were even.
Stop. So he says, that's what we say today. In the morning we say, I wish it was evening. Man, I got a long day to go. You know, I got to go work. I got to go do this. Basically, you giving your time to somebody else when you go to work. It's not your time, so you don't want to do it. You know, so you complain about it. Read on.
And even thou shalt say, without power, the Most High, it were morning, for the fear in thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
Right, so we complain about even in the afternoon. Man, I wish it was morning time. Some of us, a lot of our people are afraid when the nighttime comes. They stop shopping, they get home, because look at what goes on in our communities. We have gunfire going on, people getting shot, we got stabbings. I mean, you see how it is when we speak in Fruitvale. As soon as it get dark, everybody close up shop. They gone. It's like a ghost town. You know, what was that, about 6:30, 7 o'clock? They pull them gates down, and all them people gone. Our people are afraid of their own people. You know what I mean? Because we know how crazy our own people are. Our people don't care. They look for gain through their own people. They won't harm nobody else. They'll harm their own people. Okay? Let's go to Mark 14:3. Let's find out what happened with Yahushua.
Mark chapter 14, verse 3. And being invested in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at meat, there came a woman having an alabaster box of ointment and spikenard, very precious. And she brake the box and poured it on his head.
Right. So, keep reading that.
And there was some that had indignation within themselves, and said, why was this waste of the ointment made?
Right. So somebody complaining already. He's saying, why are you wasting all this perfume, this expensive perfume on him? You know, read on.
For it hath been sold for more than 300 pence, and hath been given to the poor.
Right.
They murmured against her.
And they murmured against her, see? And this is the disciples. Now, they supposed to be men of the Most High. But even they was murmuring. Look how Hamashiach dealt with them. Read.
And Hamashiach Yahushua said, let her alone. Why trouble ye her? Ye have wrought a good work on me.
Right.
Ye have the poor with you always. And whensoever ye will, ye may do them good. But me, ye have not always.
Right, but you won't have me always. Basically what she was doing was she was preparing him for the Passover. He was the lamb. It's like we prepare the lamb on the 10th day for the Passover on the 14th day. We anoint it. We put all these different spices on it. You know, we anoint it. So she was anointing Hamashiach. She was preparing him for the Passover. He was basically like a lamb. That's why he said, let her put the perfume on me. You know, he knew what he had to go through, but the disciples didn't have a clue. So instead what they did was they complained about it. They saw all this expensive, it's probably the best perfume in the place, in the land at that time. And the one who complained was the treasurer. This was the treasurer that was complaining. You know, he kept the money for the whole camp. So he saw it as money being wasted. Come on.
She had done it.
Has arrived.
She had done what she could. She has come beforehand to anoint my body to the burying.
To the burying. So Hamashiach was telling his disciples that this woman comes to anoint me before I'm buried. So he was getting anointed for the crucifixion. Just like we do on the Passover, when we do the lamb and we anoint the lamb with oil, spices, and so forth. But the disciples didn't understand what was going on here. Okay? So what the disciples do, they complain. Just like the Israelites. We always complain about everything. That's why this topic tonight is about the complaining Israelites. Okay? Give me number 16:1. Go to number 16:1. our people are the most complainingest people on the planet. You know, we complain about everything, you know. And that's why I had to bring this topic out, because there's two types of complaints. There's a righteous complaint, and then there's a negative complaint. Okay? And the other nations don't understand the type of complaining that we're doing. You know? They complain about us always slurring against other people, saying, you black people, all you talk about is white people. You know? They can't understand why we talk about white people. You know? And it's a form, you know, it's not a form of racism, it's more a form of bigotry, but really we're trying to explain a point, what's going on. When it comes from the Israelites, we're trying to explain a point that these people are the wicked people. These are the people who receive the benefits from our forefathers by us going off. So we're just trying to explain to them why they have what they have, why they're in the position that they're in. They don't want to hear that. Okay, you got that verse, Numbers 16:1?
Yes.
Okay, come on.
Now, Numbers chapter 16, verse 1. Now Korah, the son of Ishar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan, and Abiram, the sons of Elah, and On, the son of Peleth, the sons of Reuben, took men.
So I had you read that because I want everybody to know where we are. Who's coming up against Moses? Read.
And they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel.
Stop. So these men that rose up against Moses, these were men of renown. These were leaders of Israel when they were in Egypt. They had positions like governor. They had positions like, treasurer. They had all these positions when they were in Egypt. Just like today, we got mayors, we got secretaries, we got treasurers. We got everything here. Police chiefs, fire chiefs. These were the same men then, okay? Some of them anyway. Some of them actually were complaining righteously, but these were complaining negatively. Come on, go ahead.
250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown.
See that? Men of renown. So when we was reading Genesis 6 last week, it says that they had giants in the earth, men of renown. All these are famous men. Our famous men today would be what? Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, okay? Those are our men of renown today. Okay? Read.
And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them.
So they knew that the congregation was holy. Why did they say that? Because remember Leviticus 19:1, the Most High told the whole congregation of Israel, ye are holy. So they knew that they was holy. That's why some of these wicked Israelites, so that when they find out that they holy, that they're deemed saints, they take advantage of it and they pump themselves up. They get pride, real prideful. That's why we got to keep a contrite spirit, because the Most High is giving us examples in. Come on.
And the Most High is among them. Wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord.
Right. So see, they're accusing Moses right here. Come on.
And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. And he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Most High will shew who are his,
right,
and who is his holy, and will cause him to come near unto him. Even him who he hath chosen will he cause to come near unto him.
Right, so Moses is offended at this because the Most High chose them from the get-go. And these men, they're using the leadership of Moses against them right now. Because basically they want that position. They want to lead the people. They actually want to lead the people back to Egypt. That's the reason why the Most High had them cross the Red Sea. Because once they crossed that Red Sea, they couldn't go back. The river was at their back. There's no way to cross that Red Sea. Okay? Because it was another way to get into Israel. It was another way to go to Jerusalem. It was the way of the kings. And that was just going north of Egypt. But he had them cross the Red Sea, because once they crossed, that was it. They had to fight their way to Jerusalem. He's going to make them soldiers and warriors and princes and judges by having them fight the other nations in order to redeem their leadership, because they still had the mind of slaves. It's just like right now. If you took all the Negroes out of America right now, we still are in the slave mentality. We're still in the form of Deuteronomy 28:48, where we depend on our enemies for water, shelter, food, and everything. So if we were to leave right now, we wouldn't be in the mind frame of leading. You know, that's why the Most High is shaping us up now. He got to do it now with the scriptures. Those who don't want to conform, those are the ones who are still in that slave mentality. In other words, if they go into the wilderness right now, they'll be murmuring just like we was then. They'll be still wanting to go to McDonald's and Burger King and Ruth Chris, you know, get a nice steak. They still be wanting to celebrate Christmas, Thanksgiving. The Most High just kill them all. He'll kill everybody in the wilderness, you know. Read on. Actually, read the rest of 5, and then we're going to jump to verse 11.
Okay. Well, that was it on 5.
Okay, go to 11.
For which cause both thou and all thy company are gathered together against the Most High. And what is Aaron, that ye murmur against him?
Right, so they murmured not only against Moses, but against all the Levites that was selected by Moses through the Most High. Come on.
And Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram, sons of Elah, which said, we will not come up.
Right, come on.
Is it a small thing that thou hast brought us up out of a land that floweth with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, except thou make thyself altogether a prince over us?
See how they complaining? See how they bringing in that wicked spirit? They trying to set him aside from himself. Come on.
Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey, or given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up.
See, they're separating themselves right there, and that's hard. Think about what Moses had to put up with. Moses was the meekest man on the earth, says the scriptures. The meekest man. And you think about, trying to deal with the whole tribe of Judah, all the Negroes. Okay, just think about just dealing with the Negroes by themselves. How much strife you're gonna have to deal with. Moses had to deal with all 12 tribes. All 12 tribes, man. So, you know, he was catching all kinds of hell, but he was so meek, it didn't even bother him. He just went back to the Most High. Every time something happened, he went back to the Most High. Okay, go ahead. Verse 15.
Moses, is it a small thing? Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey, or given us inheritance of the fields and vineyards. Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. And Moses was very wroth, and said unto the Most High, respect not thou their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them.
Right, so he knew that the type of spirits he'd be dealing with if he had to take anything from them. Go to 21 and 26. 21 through 26.
Separate yourself from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment.
So the Most High, his anger was against these men, because they was coming up against the one that he selected, Moses and the Levites. Come on.
And they fell upon their faces and said, O power, the power of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with all the congregation? And the Lord and the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the congregation, saying, get you up from about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. And Moses rose up and went unto Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him.
Right, come on.
And he spake unto
Has arrived.
Depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touching nothing of theirs, lest ye be consumed in all their sins.
That's why it's important not to go hand in hand with somebody who's wicked, unless they're trying to repent. You know, you go over their house and hang out with them, you'll be consumed by whatever they're doing. If you hang out with them, eventually they will consume you, you know. And you have to be careful with the people who you hang around, you know. You could easily fall back into sin just by being around certain people. Okay? Jump at 29, 29 and read to 32.
If these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Most High have not sent me.
Right, so he's saying basically if these men die a regular death, because the Most High said he was going to kill them, but Moses prophesied that if they came against them, that they would die the death. So he's saying if they die, if they live long and they die, then I'm not a prophet, because they're coming up against the Most High at a crucial moment when the children of Israel in the wilderness. Read.
But if the Most High make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth and swallow them up with all that appertain unto them, and that they go down quick into the pit, then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Most High.
Right.
Has left the conference.
Read on.
And it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them.
Right. Come on.
And the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up and their houses, and all the men that appertain unto Korah and all their goods.
Right, so they all died. All those men who lifted up a finger against Moses died. Give me Isaiah 54 and 17. Isaiah 54 verse 17. That's why we have to understand that when we're doing the work of the Most High, anybody who come up against us, they're not coming up against us. They're coming up against the Most High. When we're normally out there speaking, normally when people come up against us, we never see them people again. I don't know what happens to them, but it's like the Most High hand got on them and they disappear. Okay? But anytime someone comes up against you, when it comes to these scriptures, and they afflict you in your spirit, where it saddens you, the Most High will deal with them. Okay? He will deal with them. Isaiah 54 and 17.
No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper.
See that? Come on.
Every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment, thou shalt condemn.
Right.
This is the heritage of the servants of the Most High, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Most High.
Right, so he said any tongue that rises up against you, he gonna condemn. And the heritage is being an Israelite. That's the heritage. Okay? But see, Dathan and Korah, they took that a little bit too far. They knew that they was holy unto the Most High just because of their heritage. But they was wicked men. That's why we have to separate the two types of complaints. There's a complaining, there's a righteous complaining, and there's a negative complaining when you complain against your brother who's doing the will of the Most High. You know, if he's not a humble, contrite man, then the Most High gonna deal with him. Give me Numbers 12, 1 and 2. And that's not just dealing with the men, but that's also dealing with the women too. Because I'm going to have you read it. Just read it. All right, Numbers 12 and 1. Let me show you what happened with Miriam.
Numbers 12 verse 1. And Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman.
So why did Miriam complain against Moses because he had an Ethiopian woman? I thought that was okay. I thought you could marry anybody you wanted to. obviously, Miriam was doing what the black women do, or the black men do when they see a black woman with the white man and so forth. Okay? But see, in this particular case, Miriam remembered the law, Deuteronomy 7 and 6. Thou shalt not marry those of the other nations. Okay? But in this particular case, Moses married this Ethiopian woman before he came into the truth. Before he came into the truth, he was already married to this Ethiopian woman. That's why the Most High allowed it. Okay? Also, that law had not come out yet. Remember, this is Moses. That law, Deuteronomy, get that real quick, Ike. Hold that verse. Give me Deuteronomy 7 and start at verse 3. That law didn't come out until we went into the wilderness.
Deuteronomy 7 and 3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son.
So we're not even supposed to make marriages with the other nations. Alright, so that didn't come out until after Moses was married. He was already married to this Ethiopian woman. Okay? So now, the Most High got to honor it because it came after the fact. You know? Read. Go back to Numbers 12 and 1 and read to the second verse. Start at 1 and read to the second verse again.
And Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman.
Come on.
Has arrived.
Read.
And they said, hath the Most High indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not also spoken by us?
Right, question mark. They complaining right now. Miriam and Aaron, they both complaining. Okay, read. Go ahead.
Spoken by us, and the Most High heard it.
And the Most High heard the complaints. See, the Most High hear everything. Y'all don't think the Most High hears us when we complain. He hears us. He hears us every time we complain. He hears us. Especially when you're speaking against the servants of the Most High. He hears that. That's why we have to be careful with our words. You know, we have to be careful when we watch other Israelites not to talk or speak evil about them. Because after all, they are still doing the work. Okay? But if those Israelites speak evil of us, they're going to be held at a high, they're going to have to pay for that. Okay? So we're at Numbers 12, 1 and 2. Go to Numbers 12 and 10. Start at 9. Start at 9,
Numbers 12 and 9. And the anger of the Most High was kindled against them, and he departed.
Come on.
And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous.
Read.
And Aaron said unto Moses, At last, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned.
Stop. So I'm going to ask y'all a question. Why was it only that Miriam was cursed with leprosy? There was two people speaking against Moses. It was Miriam and Aaron, remember? Why didn't Aaron get cursed with leprosy? Anybody know? Anybody know?
No.
Okay. Let's find out. Let's go to the scriptures. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 14, verse 34. Verse 34, yeah.
First Corinthians
14, verse
13 and 4.
34. 14:34.
14:34.
Right.
Let your woman keep silent in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law.
Right. It says also says the law. See that? So, what did Miriam do wrong? She spoke against him, but Aaron is Moses, almost like Moses' equal. He's a priest. Miriam's not a priest. She spoke against us. She spoke against the priest. He let Aaron go because he was in order, but Miriam was out. She was completely out of order, speaking against her brother, who was a priest, who was selected by the Most High.
Has left the conference.
That's why he said, "Let your women remain silent in the church under complete obedience." Moses was considered what to the whole congregation? He's considered the head of the congregation. So the woman cannot speak against the head of the congregation if he's following the laws of the Most High. That's where when you read, go to 1 Corinthians 11 out.
The 14 and 11 or chapter 11?
Chapter 11. 1 Corinthians chapter 11.
And 1?
Start at 3.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is the man.
And the head of every woman is the what?
Is the man.
Is the man. So Moses was the head over that whole congregation. And Miriam, she was out of order, going up against the Most High's prophet, Moses. All right? Read.
Sorry.
Verse 3.
Yeah. And the head of Christ is the head of Hamashiach Yahawashai is the Most High.
Come on.
Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head.
Right, so that means a man that has his head covered dishonoreth his head. But if he has a mitre on, our prophets wore mitres back in the day. When you go to where was that? Micah chapter 2. Our prophets, they wore mitre, or Zechariah, I believe, Zechariah 5. Our prophets, they wore mitres. Mitre is like those turbans that the Arabians wear. Only difference is we didn't have a top on the top of our mitres. We had like a hole on the top. Okay, you see some of the brothers today wearing mitres. They have like a hole in the top of their top of the turban, and that's for the Most High Spirit. It's a form of not being covered. Okay, so we're gonna read on. Read out.
Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, and dishonoreth his head. But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered, dishonoreth her head. For that is even all one as if she were shaven. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn.
Alright.
But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and the glory of the Most High.
Come on.
But the woman is the glory of the man.
Now read verse 8. This is a punch.
For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man.
Come on.
Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man.
So our women got to understand, although we do need you women, the Most High set an order. He put everything in order. Okay? So he set the men over the women. And when I say he set the men over the women, he's talking about righteous men. He set the righteous men over righteous women. Okay? Not an evil man over a righteous woman. Those two don't go together. They're unequally yoked. That's why he talks about the equally yoked. So when Miriam actually was speaking against Moses, go back to Numbers 12. When she was speaking against Moses, she was speaking against the head of the congregation. She was murmuring and complaining about the Most High's chosen prophet, chosen leader. So that's why she was cursed and Aaron was not. Aaron was in complete order. But however, Aaron still had to repent because Leviticus 19 and 17, thou shalt love thy brother in thy heart. Okay? And Aaron already received the gift of being a priest. Read Numbers 12:11.
And Aaron said unto Moses, at last, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed.
Stop. So it says, let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed. It's going to tell you more. Read.
When he cometh out of his mother's womb.
Whose flesh was half consumed? Anybody know?
Esau.
Esau. That's who he was speaking of. Let her not be as one's flesh who's half consumed. Esau didn't have all of his flesh. Don't you know that your skin, your body is a giant organ?
Has arrived.
It's like, for example, like drugs, okay? You got drugs made by witch doctors, like cocaine. Okay, when you touch a cocaine, that cocaine is absorbed into your system. You don't even have to smoke it. You can just put it in your hand and it's absorbed into your system. So if you go test, it's going to come back negative, positive for cocaine. You can't even touch drugs. It'll come back positive because of your body. Now, he said half consumed, the flesh half consumed. Now, when you look at your skin complexion, you got brown skin complexion, light brown, dark brown. That's melanin. And melanin, that's
Has arrived.
melanin is all that is a hormone in your body. Okay? So when you don't have that hormone in your body, guess what? Your flesh is half consumed. See, we were made to deal with the elements of the earth. When you don't have certain hormones, that means you lack vitamins. You have a deficiency. So Esau lacked that deficiency. That's why in this verse, it's speaking of, read that again, Numbers 12. Read that again, Numbers 12 and 12.
Yeah.
Lahab.
Yeah, I was reading down. Two?
No, verse 12. You gotta be on.
Let her not be as one dead.
You gotta be on point, Come on.
Yeah. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out his mother's womb.
Right, so that whole thing is speaking of basically being born with leprosy. Okay? So that's going back to Esau. Okay, so that murmuring got her leprosy. That's why we have to be careful how we complain. You know, we're going to get into the righteous complaints in a minute. But we want to focus on the negative complaining right now. And the Israelites in the past showed us basically how we don't even know, a lot of our people don't even know that they're the Israelites. And those characteristics are still in our people. Complaints, complaining about this, complaining about that. Oh, he got more money than me. He got a nice car. I wish I had it. You know, that's a form of covetousness. Wanting what somebody else got. The Israelites, they were complaining because they didn't have the things that they had in Egypt. You know, they didn't have the fish, they didn't have the cucumbers. It talks about that in the scriptures, how they complained about that. But the other nations that were with them were complaining first because they were more used to it, and it just spilled over into the Israelites. Read Numbers 14 and 2.
And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, would the Most High that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would the Most High we had died in this wilderness?
Right, see that? So they complaining already about being in the wilderness. They ain't even been out there that long. They already complaining. They rather the Most High done showed them miraculous things. Open up the Red Sea, the plagues of Egypt, and they want to go back to this place. Egypt has been destroyed. Read on out.
And wherefore hath the Most High brought us into this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt?
Right, that's what our people going to be saying. Same thing. Come on.
And they said one to another, let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt.
Right.
Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces, and before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched the land, rent their clothes. They spake unto all the company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is an exceedingly good land.
Right, come on.
If the Most High delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which floweth with milk and honey.
So this is a land that he's going to give the children of Israel only if they obey him. Only if they stop their complaining. Because Israel, they don't know how to complain righteously yet. They still know how to complain negative. Because they never had nothing. They're just ungrateful. You know? They still caught up in that rat race. You know? Trying to get what their neighbor got. They haven't came out of that mind frame. So if they go into Israel with that same mind frame, what do you think is going to happen? Oh, I got a bigger house than you. I got better horses than you. They're going to be complaining again. That's why the Most High made them stay another 40 years out in the wilderness and killed everybody and let the children go in there. Because their minds is basically brand new. Go ahead, Op.
And if the Most High delight in us, he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only rebel not against the Most High, neither fear the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and the Most High is with us. Fear them not.
Come on.
All the congregation they stone them with stones. The glory of the Most High appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel.
Right, this is self-explanatory. Read. We're going to read to 12.
Moses, how long will this people provoke me? How long will it, and how long will it be till they believe me? For all the signs which I have shown among them.
Right.
I will smite them with pestilence and disinherit them.
Right.
And will make of thee a greater nation and mightier than they.
So at that point, he was about to kill all the Israelites. The Most High even got tired of Israel. He got tired of us. He was like, okay, I'm going to kill the whole congregation of Israel and start a whole new generation with you, Moses. I'm going to start a new tribe just with you only. That's when Moses, read. Watch what Moses do. Read.
And Moses said unto the Most High, then the Egyptians shall hear it. For thou broughtest up this people in thy might from among them.
Right, he said, Most High, don't you remember what you said? You made a promise. You said that you would get us out of Egypt. If you send us back, if you kill all the people, the Egyptians gonna laugh. So he had to remind the Most High, because the Most High was angry. Read.
And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land. For they have heard that the power art among this people, that thou power art seen face to face, and that thy cloud standeth over them, and that thou goest before them by daytime in a pillar of a cloud, and in a pillar of fire by night.
So who was that pillar in a cloud and that pillar of fire by night? That was Hamashiach Yahushai. That was the one that they saw face to face. It wasn't the Most High. Didn't Hamashiach said no man has seen the Father? In Exodus chapter 3 and 4, when Moses was talking to the burning bush, that wasn't the Most High. That was Hamashiach Yahushai. It tells you it was an angel when you read the first verse in chapter 3. And then in Acts chapter 7, it says that Moses spoke to an angel. That was Hamashiach Yahushai. If you saw the Most High, you would die. No one can see the Most High live. Look at what happened to Moses when he went up on the mountain to talk to Hamashiach. He came back down from the mountain and his hair was gray. His face was shining like a bright light. When Paul went into the third heaven, I think it's in 1 Peter chapter 4, when Paul went into the third dimension in the third heavens, he came back with a sharp pain in his side. It's a reminder saying, look, you ain't going to see Hamashiach and not get away with having some kind of pain, just to humble you. He wants you to have that contrite spirit and not boast. Because just think if he came back with no pain, he'd be boasting like, oh, I know I'm one of the elect. I'm an elect. I'm going to make it. But Paul still had to say, he still said that he hoped that he make it. Okay?
Has left the conference.
So we got to remember, no man has seen the Father. No man. That's why Hamashiach said, when you see me, you see the Father. Okay? Let's go from there. Let's go to Lamentations 3 and 39. To the murmuring Israelites, man, our people, man, they always complain. I mean, you look around at our people today, you look at what they complain about. They complain about not having enough food, or they don't like the circumstance where they live at. You know, they stand in line. Our people stand in line long enough, they complain. If there's one cash register open, and they see other workers walking around, they wonder why the other person won't open up the cash register, because the line is too long. That's our people. We the first ones to complain. Nobody else gonna complain. We the first ones to complain every time. You got some Edomites that complain, but mostly it's always us that complain. You know? So how do we get out of that form of complaining? You know, we got to start keeping the laws. Read.
Wherefore doth the living man complain?
Hold on. I quote it and read it, so they know where we are.
Lamentations 3, verse 39.
Okay, come on.
Wherefore doth a living man complain, a man for punishment of his sins?
Right.
Let us search and try our ways and turn again to the Most High.
Right. Let us search and find our ways and turn again to the Most High. You know, that's what we have to do as a people. He said, turn and change your ways. Okay? Read 40 and 42. 40 through 42. Again.
Let us search and try our ways and turn again to the Most High. Let us lift up our heart with our hands unto the Most High in the heavens. We have transgressed and rebelled, and have rebelled. Thou hast not pardoned. Right, so we transgressed by breaking the law, and we rebelled by coveting and one another things, one another gods. You know, that's the form of rebellion. Okay, give me Deuteronomy 9 and 8. So we got to bring the scriptures out to show you how the Israelites complained and how we do it today. We're doing the same thing. It's really nothing different. These are the Israelites who complain with the negative vibration. They didn't complain with a righteous vibration. Read that out. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 8. Also in Horeb ye provoked the Most High to wrath, so that the Most High was angry with you to have destroyed you.
Right, you complain enough, the Most High will kill you. It's just like Tupac Shakur. What did he complain about most of the time? How he's going to kill somebody. Those two dudes, those rappers, their whole rap career, all they did was talk about death. Death to their brother. They was breaking the commandments right off back. Leviticus 19:17. They were selling albums, but the whole thing was death to you, death to you. You know, I did this to your wife, breaking the commandments with adultery. Just even if he didn't do it, he was putting that thought out there. It was an action. He spoke it, and the action went out. So people thought that this man was committing adultery. You know, with Biggie's wife. So you had wickedness going full force throughout the radio systems, throughout the CD players, you know, throughout the TVs, because Tupac Shakur, that was his main thing, was breathing out death. And what that did was it sparked homicide by some brothers listening to that. You know what I'm saying? They would go out there and actually commit death. They would kill their brother based on that. You know, and that started a whole war. You know, that was a spiritual war jumping off from the East Coast to the West Coast. It became the East Coast against the West Coast, or West Coast against the East Coast. Okay? Based on two men. And it took years just to get that right. Years before brothers actually got it right. So when that spirit goes out, that death force, you know, that's a form of complaint. That's bringing damnation to our people. That's why we got to know what to complain about. Well, hold on. Biggie had a song. What was that album title, Lahab? The second album he had.
Ready to Die.
Ready to Die.
Ready to Die.
Yeah, Ready to Die, but he didn't even have the pathway, the straight way on how to
arrive.
He didn't have the straight way on what we had to do before we died, but he gonna title his album Ready to Die. That's wicked as heck. Then you listen to it and he talking about committing suicide on one of his songs. That's a murmuring spirit, man. And then when he pushed it out there and people start buying the album, guess what those people, you don't know how many people actually committed suicide based on that album alone, based on a Tupac album, or homicide based on those albums, because all they pushed out there was death, 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 death. You know, that's why we breathe life when we talk to people. We speak the commandments. You know, that's the difference. The Israelites, Dathan and Horeb and all of them, they spoke death. All they could think about was putting Moses out of his misery so they could take the leadership. They was killing Moses within their heart. They didn't actually do it, but in their heart they wanted to kill Moses in there. So the Most High killed them. You know. Go to 2 Samuel 6 and 14. Listen how King David, we're gonna talk about how his wife was envying and murmuring about King David. You know?
And 2 Samuel chapter 6 verse 14. And David danced before the Most High with all his might. And David was girded with a linen ephod.
Right. Come on.
So David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Most High with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. And as the ark of the Lord, the ark of the Most High came up into the city of David, Michael, Saul's daughter, looked through a window.
You can say Michelle. You can say Michelle. That's a female. That's King David's wife. You know, it's just like you got Michael and then you got Michelle. That's Michelle. Okay.
Okay, Michelle, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Most High. And she despised him in her heart.
So she hated King David in her heart. She didn't see the spiritual side of what King David was doing. They had just beat the Philistines. Saul had just got killed. Jonathan had got killed. King David inherited the kingdom, and he was giving the Most High all praises. But she didn't see that spiritual side. All she saw was King David dancing in the street like a crazy man. Come on, read.
And they brought in the ark of the Most High, set it in his place, in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Most High. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts.
Not only did he dance for the Most High, he blessed all the people as well in the name of the Most High. Hamashiach. Come on.
And he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men.
Right, so you had righteous women out there dancing too. Righteous women and righteous men doing the same thing King David was doing. Come on.
To everyone a cake of bread, and a good piece of flesh, and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, everyone to his house.
Look at that, man. Our people knew how to party, right? We gonna give you a whole flagon of wine. We gonna give you some steaks. We gonna give you some bread, some cakes. Our people knew how to party. Come on.
Then David returned to bless his household, and Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, "How glorious was the king of Israel today."
That was a smart remark. How glorious is the king of Israel today? That was a smart Franklin mark, you know. Go ahead.
Who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovereth himself.
Right, so she said, oh, you just like one of the shameless men, like one of the bums out there, uncovering himself. Come on.
And David said unto Michal, "It was before the Most High, which chose me before thy father, and before all his house, to appoint me ruler over the people of the Most High, over Israel. Therefore I play before the Most High."
Right. So also you got to remember, Michelle. Her father was a king, so it kind of pained her to see King David taking the spot of her father and not her brother. So she was kind of, she's kind of hating that. She had hatred in her heart. Read.
"And I will yet be more vile than thus, and will be base in my own sight, and of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of. Of them shall I be had in honor. Therefore Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child unto the day of her death."
Right, so basically they had a little argument, and it was based on the fact that she had envy, and she murmured against King David about what he was doing was wrong. So he was actually out there celebrating the Most High. So after that, he didn't even have sex with her no more after that. They didn't even create a baby from that. So you got some sayings out there saying that Michal had children. I think when you read in 2 Samuel chapter 21, it says that she raised a son and a daughter. But see, in the land of Israel, if your brother or your sister had children, they were considered like your sons and daughters. So she was raising her niece and nephew. So she never had children. So don't let nobody trick you on, oh, she had children. Maybe from a second marriage or third. No, she never had children. Okay? That was her niece and her nephew. Alright, so let's go from there to Judges 15 and 11. All I'm showing you is different aspects of how our people murmur against one another. Alright? This is not even other nations. This is us within our own nation, murmuring against each other. Alright? Judges 15:11.
Then, Judges chapter 15, verse 11.
And this is about Samson. Go ahead.
Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock, Etam, and said to Samson, "Knowest thou not the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us?"
Right. They basically was complaining to Samson, the tribe of Judah. They were saying, man, you out here killing these Philistines? Don't you know we got to get our money from them? Don't you know we trade with them Philistines? Man, you hurting our economy. You hurting our money. They was complaining against Samson, right? That's why I got question marks. They sitting there complaining against Samson. Everybody didn't like what Samson was doing. But he was born, when you read the 14th chapter, it says that he was born with that spirit to kill the Philistines. His hand would always be against them. That's why when you see some people out there and they go like Malcolm X, he was born with that spirit to go against the white man. Okay? You can't take that away from him. Martin Luther King was born to do what he did. Those are spirits that the Most High put on our bodies, man. We don't know what our spirits are until we act them out. It's all for the glory of the Most High. Read out.
What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, as they did unto me, so have I done unto them.
Right, that's what Samson says. They done to me, I'm going to do to them. And that's the spirit that the Most High put on Samson. Come on.
And they said unto him, we are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hands of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves.
Right, so Samson made them swear an oath, okay? But they didn't even bite on the oath. But basically, they was going to turn Samson in so they could have a better life. They didn't like what he was doing. So he tells them to swear an oath, and watch what they say, because the Most High said don't even swear an oath. Read.
And they spake unto him, saying, no.
They said, no, we ain't swearing an oath. We're not going to swear. Because they knew that was a law not to swear. That's why when you go to court, you don't swear on the Bible. You say, I declare, but you don't say, yes, I do. You don't say stuff like that. You say, I declare. Read.
And they spake unto him, saying, no, but we will bind thee fast and deliver thee into their hands.
So they still sin. They still, they still sin. They said no to one law, but then they broke another law. Leviticus 19:17. They turned their brother over to the Philistines. Okay? Read. Go ahead, Ike.
Yes. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
My page flipped over.
13.
And they spake unto him, saying, no, but we will bind thee fast and deliver thee into their hand, but surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him up with 2 new cords and brought him up from the rock.
That's sad, man. So they basically turned into Uncle Toms and turned their own brother in. Give me Luke 5:30. Luke 5:30. We almost done with the negative side. We're going to go to the righteous side in a minute. You know, our people are a trip, man. They complain about everything, you know. Mainly because our people can't measure up. We can't measure up to everybody else. You know, we always try to compare, you know, what we got versus what everybody else got. You know.
But their scribes and Pharisees murmured against his disciples, saying,
hold on, quote it and read it, so people can know where we at.
Luke chapter 5, verse 30.
Uh-huh.
But their scribes and Pharisees murmured against his disciples, saying, why do ye eat and drink with publicans and sinners?
Right, so here go the disciples murmur.
Has arrived.
You know, disciples. Go ahead.
Answered and said unto him, that they are whole, need not a physician, but they that are sick. I came not to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance.
But sinners to repentance. But the publicans and the Pharisees and the scribes, they was murmuring against the disciples, you know, because they was complaining. They didn't want them to eat with the sinners. Basically, they didn't want them to coerce them into believing in Hamashiach. So they was murmuring again. That's a wicked spirit, murmuring. Very wicked spirit. Go to Mark 2:15. Mark 2:15.
Mark 2, verse 15. And it came to pass that as Hamashiach Yahushua sat at meat in his house, many publicans and sinners sat also together with Jesus and with Hamashiach Yahushua and his disciples. But there were many, and they followed him.
Right.
And when the scribes and Pharisees saw him eat with publicans and sinners, they said unto his disciples, how is it that he eateth and drinketh with publicans and sinners?
Right. So there it is again. They murmuring again. That's the same. Actually, that's the same scripture that we just read in Luke. It's the same exact scripture. Go to John 6:40 and read to the 44th verse. All these murmurers, man. We got our people, man. They love to talk smack. They love. I mean, even on the basketball court, it's the same thing. You watch NBA basketball. You got guys complaining. Oh, he did this. You know, we murmur everywhere we go. And I know sometimes it's justified because you can win what you want based on murmuring. But that's not what the Most High wants. If you gonna murmur, you got to do it righteously. Okay. Go to Juke 6 and 40.
John 6:40. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life. And I will raise him up at the last day.
Come on.
The Jews then murmured at him, because he said, I am the bread which came down from heaven.
They're murmuring again. Look how many times our people are murmuring, man. They murmur throughout the whole scriptures. Always complaining. Come on.
And they said, is this not Hamashiach Yahushua, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he saith, I came down from heaven? Hamashiach Yahushua therefore answered and said unto them, murmur not amongst yourselves.
Hamashiach said, murmur not among yourselves. Don't talk about your brother and sister. Listen to what he got to say before you start complaining. Come on.
No man come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him. And I will raise him up at the last day.
And I will raise him up at the last day. That's important. Read Job 2:9. Look at how Job's wife came against him. See, that's why marriage is important too, because in your marriage you're gonna have a lot of ups and downs, and the husband he'll murmur against the wife, and the wife will murmur against the husband when things aren't going right. And you normally see that, they call it the 7-year itch. After 7 years, where you start getting tired of each other. You know, that's why you see a lot of people get divorced around the 7th year or after. They start divorcing each other because they tired of each other's habits. You know, there's no communication involved. They don't try to work it out. They just divorce. And you see that too with brothers that might be friends. They start complaining about one another. You know, it's a murmuring spirit. You know, that's what communication. That's what communication. That's when communication comes in. And murmuring spirit. You know. Read that out. Job 2:9.
Hello?
Yeah, Job 2:9.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Job 2:9. Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse the Most High and die.
What did she do? She murmured against the Most High. Because Job was married to her, and he was still, even though he's been afflicted, he was still asking for forgiveness by the Most High. This woman said, curse your God and die. What happened was Satan got in her. Satan jumped in her body, in her spirit. Because that conversation that Satan and the Most High was having, that was only between him and the sons of God. Saying, let me show it to you. Go to, let's see, read 1 and 9.
Then Satan answered the Most High and said, does Job fear the Most High for naught? Has not thou make a hedge about him and about his house and all that he hath on every side? That's how blessed the work of his hand, and his substance is increased in the land.
All right, come on.
But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face.
Right, and he will curse thee to thy face. So who knew about that? Only Satan. He said if you remove all this stuff and afflict him, he'll curse you to his face. So who did Satan jump into? Verse 9 again, 2 and 9.
Then Satan answered the Most High and said...
No, read Job 2 and 9.
Oh, 2 and 9.
Uh-huh.
Then said his wife unto him, Dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse the Most High and die.
Right, she said, curse the Most High and die. That was Satan. Now, if Job had cursed the Most High, what do you think he would have did? He would have died. That was the whole test that Satan had with the Most High. He was like, okay, you remove everything and let him curse you, and he gonna die. So Job was smarter than that. Listen to what he said. Read.
But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of the Most High, and we shall not receive evil?
Right, we're going to receive both. We're going to be chastised. Come on.
In all this, did not Job sin with his lips?
Right, so that's what we have to learn to do, not to sin with our lips, with our tongue. The tongue is the most wickedest thing on our body, our tongue. It can start a fire in the forest, our tongue. Give me Proverbs 19 and 3. That murmuring, man, is a big sin, man. That's why we have to control it. Everything starts with the action. You know, you think of a thought, then you speak it, and then it comes out. You know what I mean? You have to be careful how you speak, because it starts in your mind. And children, to tell you in a minute, they think it quick, and then they speak it as soon as they think it. That's why you got to correct children right off the bat. They'll go up to a woman and say, Mama, she ugly. You know, they don't even care. You're like, look at him, something wrong with his eye. You know, they'll say it right in front of you. So, I mean, that's why the Most High calls us little children, because we haven't changed too much when we become adults as children, because we still do the same thing. Look at our comedians. Our comedians make money off of speaking about us. Even the Edomite comedians, they like talking about us. The Spanish, everybody like talking about the Israelites. That's how they make their money. Read out Proverbs 19 and 3.
The foolishness of man perverteth his way, and his heart fretteth against the Most High.
Uh-huh. Right, his heart.
Make it.
No, that's good. No, that's that's the point. Go to Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 11. You got your apocrypha?
Yep.
Yeah, read Wisdom of Solomon 1 and 11. Because basically we got to beware of how we speak to our people. We got to beware of that, man. That murmuring can cause us to fall just as fast as not eating pork, or trying to do one of the other laws. Is just as bad. Murmuring. You know.
Therefore, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 11.
Right.
Therefore, be aware of murmuring, which is unprofitable.
He said, beware what? He said, beware what?
Beware of murmuring.
Beware. Y'all know what beware means? That means be on guard, cautious. You know, beware of murmuring. Read.
Which is unprofitable.
Which is unprofitable. It's not. It doesn't even bless you in any way. Come on.
And refrain your tongue from backbiting.
Backbiting, I mean talking about somebody. You know that backbiting. You walk by somebody and you with somebody else, and you don't like the way somebody looked at you. You're like, man, what are you looking at me like for? You know, you say something bad about them. That's backbiting. Read.
For there is no word so secret that shall go for naught.
Right.
In the mouth that belieth, slayeth the soul.
It slayeth the soul. See? enslaveth your own soul. Go to 1 Corinthians 10 and 9. Now. So the Bible is full with examples, full of examples of how our tongue is just as wicked as anything else that we do in our actions. That's why we got to guard ourselves with the law, statutes, commandments, and try to keep our mouths not to speak evil amongst anybody. We don't speak evil.
Has left the conference.
Go ahead, read 1 Corinthians 10 and 9.
10 and 9.
Yeah.
Neither let us tempt Hamashiach Yahushua, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents.
Right, so they was destroyed by serpents. See? Read 10 and 11.
Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured, and were destroyed of the destroyer.
So when you murmur, when you keep doing it, it becomes a great sin. The Most High sends evil angels amongst you. Come on.
And some of them also murmured and were destroyed by the destroyer. Now all these things happened unto them for
examples. They were all for examples. That's why he had the Old Testament in there. All those examples. Come on.
And they were written for our admonishing. Upon whom the ends of the world are come.
Upon whom the ends of the world are come.
Has left the conference.
Okay. Go to Philippians 2 and 14. Philippians 2 and 14. It's after Ephesians.
Yes, no, it was my papers. Philippians 2 and 14. Do all things without murmuring and disputing.
Right. Go ahead.
That ye may be blameless.
That you may be what?
That ye may be blameless.
That you may be what?
Blameless.
Blameless. We got to be blameless and harmless. All right, as the sons of the Most High, sons and daughters of the Most High. Come on.
The sons of the Most High, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world.
Right, so that's what we are here in America. We're in a wicked place right now. So we got to be like lights to the world, man. We got to show them by our actions and what we speak. Okay, so those are the wicked murmurings of our people. Those are examples. Now let's find out some of the righteous ways to complain. There's a righteous way to complain too.